We've already begun our unit on rhetoric or persuasive speaking. We know that a good persuasive speaker considers the situation in which they're speaking, the purpose or the goal that they hope to attain in delivering their speech, and their audience or to whom they're speaking. Now I want us to focus on the methods that persuasive speakers use to persuade their audiences. We'll specifically be using a tool called the Rhetorical Triangle that originally was written down by Aristotle, and it involves three pieces: ethos, pathos, and logos. And those words from the Greek mean credibility, emotion, and logic. And when these tools are used together, it can lead to some pretty strong persuasion. Ethos is the appeal to the speaker's credibility or character. This shows us why we should trust this person as an expert or someone who cares about their audience. There are many ways that you can prove that you are a knowledgeable or credentialed or likable speaker. To be knowledgeable, you need to do research on the topic. This is one reason that we cite our sources verbally when we deliver speeches, because we're proving that we've done the work and we do know about the topic. Perhaps you are experienced as a speaker and you can speak to your personal experience in that topic. I could say, I've been teaching for X amount of years, or I've been playing this sport for X amount of years. And that would show my audience that I know what I'm doing. A speaker with strong ethos might be credentialed. Maybe they have a degree or a training program that has been specialized and helps them to be an expert in their field. And the second part of ethos doesn't have as much to do with knowledge, but it has more to do with being virtuous and goodwill toward the audience. The audience wants to know that you as a speaker want the best for them, that you want what's good for them. I need to persuade you that this thing that I'm trying to persuade you of will in fact be good for you or your family or for our community. Speakers who have strong ethos are also generally really likable. Now, this is hard because how can we prove to people that we are likable? Well, maybe just start by being approachable. Smiling is an easy way to get people to like you. Using energy like gestures or an interesting tone, or maybe some humor, if it's appropriate, are other ways to have strong ethos as a speaker. When we're considering ethos, maybe consider which people you would trust to persuade you of something. If I'm looking for a good athletic shoe, I trust Michael Jordan. He has that credibility. He has knowledge. He is experienced. He has the credentials. And certainly he would want what's best for me when I'm playing that sport. Many people trust public figures like Oprah simply because she's good-willed, and she gives away money to charity. And so she comes across as a very trustworthy person on many different topics. In addition to a credible or trustworthy speaker, we also want our speaker to use logos. And logos is the logical appeal to the audience's sense of reason and rationality. Now, in logos, we might want to use facts or statistics, and often just common sense to persuade our audience. This is generally the easiest of all three pieces for students to use when they're writing their speeches, and it comes naturally to many of us. We often think in a logical manner. Usually ethos we have to prove in some way, and pathos is a little bit tougher. Pathos is the emotional appeal, which causes an audience to have an emotional connection or have a reaction of some type. And Sarah McLachlan's ASPCA commercials are the perfect example of this. Every time she comes on the TV, you know you are about to feel sad. That sad, lonely music in the background, the poor images of the three-legged dogs huddling, shivering alone in their kennels. It's heartbreaking. And she's trying to persuade you to donate money to this foundation. And what a great way to persuade your audience. When using pathos, you want to consider how you want to make your audience feel. Do you want them to feel sad, guilty, angry, upset? Often negative emotions are easier to get our audience to feel than positive emotions, and negative emotions will often lead our audience to action as opposed to making our audience feel good or happy or comforted. When using pathos, we might use some loaded words, words like freedom or helpless. Those are strong words that evoke an emotional response within people. We might consider different values that would resonate with our audience, like family or patriotism or love. Often visual aids are very helpful when using pathos. We could show shocking images or heartwarming images, and these images can really stir up an emotional response within our audience. The very best public speakers, persuasive public speakers, use all three strategies together. So here's an example. Let's say I am trying to convince you that you should brush your teeth. There is my purpose. You are my audience. My purpose is to convince you to brush your teeth. And here are my methods. If I'm employing ethos, I might say, I've never had a cavity. Well, then you should trust me because I've never had a cavity. Or I might say, I'm a dental hygienist. Now, of course, I'm really not, and you certainly shouldn't lie about your credentials, but we definitely would trust someone with those credentials to tell us about dental hygiene. If I'm trying to employ logos, I might just say teeth are an important part of our daily lives. Thus, we should keep them healthy by brushing them. We need them to talk, to enunciate, to eat. And so we need to keep them healthy. Logically, we should brush our teeth in order to do that. If I'm trying to employ pathos to persuade you to brush your teeth, I might show you pictures of decaying teeth and really disgust my audience, which would move them to want to brush their teeth. So, this rhetorical triangle of ethos, pathos, and logos, do your best to use all three at different portions of your speech to really try and persuade your audience and move them to some sort of action. How can you prove that you are a credible, trustworthy, and good willed speaker? That's ethos. How can you prove that you can use logical reasoning, facts and statistics and science to prove your point? And lastly, how can you evoke an emotional response within your audience? What emotions do you want to make them feel that might move them or persuade them into action?